2021. As you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is the adoption of the agenda. Board members, how do we feel about permanently moving the board member reports to the end of our business meeting? This will allow us to prioritize our action items while still giving us time to share our reports. If you're not ready to make the decision now, I completely understand. We discussed this during the retreat, and I wanted to provide the option.
I'm fine with it.
Anyone else?
Moving it, I guess
The
I'm
board member reports to the end.
very end of the meeting.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that, because then we're not taking up a whole lot of time just talking about what we've done, correct?
Yeah, I guess who would we talk by that point? The only thing I'm thinking of is by that point in time, nobody's even watching anymore or listening, so we'll be talking to each other. So that's the only thing. It's not that I don't. I just feel like for those out in the audience who want to actually hear what we're doing and the things we're doing, we might want to do it a little sooner in the meeting. That's all.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
I'm fine with moving it.
Okay.
A lot of time getting it in the meeting.
Okay. Gannon?
It's either way. But I was thinking the same thing with Sue, but either way is fine.
Okay. So I think we have consensus to move it to the end, and we can always move it back if we feel better about it next time. Okay. All right. So may I have a motion to adopt the agenda amended with the board member reports to the end?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an agenda.
I oppose.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chewbacca has asked to participate in tonight's meeting electronically as he is out of town. Do I have a motion to approve Mr. Chewbacca's electronic meeting participation?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Chewbacca is already online, correct? Are you there, Mr. Chewbacca?
I am here.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Tonight we are holding a public hearing on the 2021-2022 Health and Safety Plan. Online comments were provided and are available in the agenda. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Ms. Drake will have a timer on the screen. We have one person signed up to speak tonight, Julie Quisenberry. If you could, is Julie here? No?
She's asked not to speak.
Huh?
She's here, but asked not to speak.
Oh, okay. All right, sounds good. So we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is public address. And currently, do I need to read all this if we have no speakers? Okay, we have no speakers for public address at this time. Consent items. We have a number of consent items this evening. Does anyone have anything to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, all items are on consent. Payment of the bills. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of the bills as presented?
So move or second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll enter our business meeting, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Meyer.
Okay, thank you. The legislative policy updates were presented to you for first reading in June. These policies are brought to you tonight for your approval.
Do I have a motion to approve the legislative policy updates as presented?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I think we have to roll call.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's my fault. Yeah, I'll need to do a roll call, but because it's policy.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Grab this mic because Mr. Chewbacca won't be able to hear me. I'm not mic.
Okay.
I'm not clear on what it is we're approving.
The legislative policy updates were in the previous June agenda, and they were there for first reading. So-
Okay.
So they're the ones that come from VSBA.
These are all the legislative changes.
Full assembly.
Basically, they're law, and we sort of don't have a choice but to pass them.
It'd been nice if they were kind of listed out instead of just saying this is what they are.
They are if you touch the thing.
They're all listed there.
They are, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Just touch the little pad.
I don't have my, I only have my computer today, so.
Yeah, there, if you touch it, it'll all come up.
Okay, we're just waiting on Brenda.
I apologize. I thought you were in discussion and we were waiting on Ms. Cass.
I'm sorry.
Sorry if I was delayed.
That's okay. Ms. Cass, did you have any other further questions on that?
So these are I'm still not finding them, so.
Hold on. Go down the business meeting. We already approved the consent. Come down the
Right here.
business. Yeah.
Never mind, never
Those are
mind.
right? Yeah, those
Gotcha.
are the ones.
Thank you.
No problem.
I did look at this already, so, okay.
Yeah, and we seen them last
Got it.
time around.
Anything else, Ms. Cass?
Nope.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Trabaka?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Cass?
Yes.
Ms. Kadon?
Yes.
Ms. Parton? Ms. Graham?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next is directory information. This policy change was brought to you for first reading in June. The policy revision is brought to you tonight for your approval.
Do I have a motion to approve the policy update as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So I think it would just be helpful to give a description of what this is covering. So the changes, as far as the identification of students that what we're not going to be providing, so that the public knows.
So yeah, Ms. Drake, would you give a quick synopsis of it?
So the state law sets the definition of directory information, which includes a student's name, their grade level, their school. It also includes their mailing address, their email address, their phone number. State law changed and now allows us to set, in Montgomery County schools, we define directory information as. And that's the update that you see in the policy. So what you see is in MCPS, directory information, and this is information about students that can be obtained via FOIA, essentially. Includes the student's name, photo and video of school events or activities. This covers our social media use, website use, that type of thing. The grade level of the student, the name of the student's parent or guardians, their current school, membership on sports teams or in school clubs and activities that, when you think about playbills, the pamphlets that you get at a football game that have the roster, those types of things are covered there. And then degrees, honors, and awards received, that covers for honor roll listings and that type of thing that may be publicly available. So we've made that list smaller so that in MCPS, these are the only things that can be considered directory information.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further discussion?
Marty. Brenda, if I'm not mistaken, can't parents choose to opt out of that on the school forms if they do choose to do so?
That's a great point, Ms. Parton. Thank you. Yes, we
Yes.
do have a form
So
that
they do have that right to
Absolutely.
do so?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Trabaka?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Cass?
Yes.
Ms. Kadon?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Graham?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next, citizen participation. This is first policy update. The change was requested by the board and allows speakers in public address to provide their own town or area of residence instead of their street address. This policy revision we brought to you in August for approval. Are there any questions regarding that?
That approval will be August 3rd, I think, not August 7th, all right?
Yes. Be August 3rd. Okay. All right, moving on. ESSER funding update. Ms. Whitaker and Mr. Krantz are here to provide an update on ESSER fund expenditures. They will also present various options as the board determines what to fund with CARES, ESSER, and the American Rescue Plan money. We want to hear your discussion and get your guidance about what additional information you need from us in order to approve a plan by September 30th. Annie, Tommy?
Thank you, Dr. Meyer. Some of this information you've seen previously, but give you a quick update. The funds that we've got within the CARES program, you can see the different sources. ESSER 1, which was the first that came in, we've spent everything that was in that particular fund. We've been reimbursed for everything but $57,000 in ESSER 1. The reason for that was initially you couldn't get reimbursed in ESSER 2 or 3 until you had gotten fully reimbursed in ESSER 1. That's now changed with ESSER 3. The GEAR funds, which is a grant process, and those we knew would take a little bit longer to spend. And you can see that we're spending it, but we still have some funds left. The state CRF, we had the $1.73 million. That's been completely spent. The county CRF was $500,000. That's been completely spent. ESSER 2 was $6.047 million. We've spent $1.645 million, and we'll be seeking reimbursement in the next week or two on those funds. And the majority of those funds, as you may recall in the last presentations, have been spent on primarily PPE-related items. It was all about ventilation. It was about cleanliness, doing the things to keep our buildings safe while students and staff were working in it. When the American Rescue Plan, which is also referred to as ESSER 3, came about, that particular plan brought in flexibility in that you could do more things with CARES Act funds than you could do previously under ESSER 1 and 2. But it also brought in requirements. And what you have there is $1.2 million that I'll reference back later in this presentation. So with ESSER 3, the big thing that you're required to do is to develop recommendations from different stakeholders. It's not just PPE, it's intended to be more directed toward the academic side of the program. And so Annie has pulled together the schools and the departments on the academic side to pull together what their requests were for these funds that have to be spent on or before basically June 30th or September 30th of 2024. Okay? And you will hear that the localities can spend up through 2026. To think that it'll change on the education side does require congressional approval at the federal level. So the chances that that'll change are probably slim. Okay? In this, you want to go through that? You want me to keep going? Yeah, but the one thing here that's different for the ESSER 1, 2, and ESSER 3 is the 20% threshold. A minimum of 20% has to be used to address learning loss. And we have to be able to prove that as we go seek reimbursement.
And so as you can see here, they provide us with what areas we can use the funding to address learning loss. And so I won't read the entire thing, but I'll give you just a heads up on each bullet. So providing principals and school leaders with the resources necessary to address those school needs, addressing the unique needs of certain groups of students, our low-income students, children with disability, English language learners, our racial and ethnic minorities, students who are homeless, and foster care youth. We can use it to purchase educational technology, both hardware, software, and connectivity, to provide mental health resources and supports. We can use it for any activities that are allowed by ESSA, IDA, Perkins, McKinney-Vento, essentially any of your federal programs. We can use the funds to plan and implement activities for summer learning, after school learning, to address the needs of those students. And then looking at addressing learning loss among all students, again with a specific focus on those groups who are at risk. And so the bullets below there show what we can use it for in those areas. So using high quality assessments so that we can determine student needs, to implement evidence-based activities, to provide information and assistance to families on how they can support their students, and by tracking student attendance and working to improve student engagement.
Can we do that?
Sure.
So, Dr. Meyer had asked, and under COVID, positions can be funded. Understanding, though, that in 2024, the funds are gone. So 4 positions have been added. As you can see, the Administrator of Family Engagement, the Reading Intervention Coordinator, the Administrator of Professional Development, and the Mathematics Coach. That's the $1.2 million you saw on the earlier slide where we pick up for 3 years. We anticipate that those positions will remain. So you saw the $1.2 million deducted from the 13.5, assuming that that will remain in place for the next 3 years. Then this schedule, Annie will go through, but you can see based off of the survey that she did, broken down by the different schools and departments, the amount that they have requested.
Oh, wrong button. So the way that we asked the schools to provide us their needs is we asked each of them, each school or department, to meet with their leadership teams. And so those at the school level are teachers, they are your administrators, and then other school staff. Those teams meet throughout the year on different topics. And so we asked the principals to speak with them about what they felt would help in their schools. And so we asked them to address these 4 questions, which are: which area from the allowable use does your recommendation fall under? What is the total estimated cost of your recommendation? How will it address the areas that are allowable? And then to give us a breakdown of cost. This was something I think that was new to our schools, and they said, well, what can we ask for? I said, you ask for whatever it is you want. I can't tell you you can have it, but ask us, because we want you to put into the request what it is your school sees as a need. And so the link at the top there, it's also an attachment within board docs, a separate attachment, provides you the comprehensive list. I think it's 40 pages. That breaks down each school's request to us. They did, most of them, say a 1-year request, but for consistency's sake, since it's 3 years of funding, we wanted to provide you those funds if they asked for staff for 3 years.
So under ESSER 3, $13.5 million was what was awarded to our district. If you back out for summer school for 3 years, we're estimating that cost to be $2.7 million. As well as the 4 additional positions of $1.2 million. That leaves $9.6 million that's unallocated for other uses. The total that was requested by the schools in the department is $18.049 million. So we need to reconcile that difference, and obviously our needs are greater than what the dollars that's available. Remember, the key on here is basically June 30th of 2024 is when we need to make all decisions, because when we go into the FY25 budget, we'll have to be balanced. And the thing that Dr. Meyer has instructed us to do is try to find ways within our budgets as we're building in 23 and 24 that we will want to retain some of these positions, that let's start building the base for those positions today rather than waiting until the end and then scrambling for it. So that's what our goal will be. The key is the 20% for learning loss we have to do. That's different than ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. It is only through June 30th of 2024, and once it happens, they're gone. Now, construction is an area that I've had some of the board members ask me that question. And you can, in ESSER 3, use the construction dollars. However, they have to be complete by June 30th of 2024. Also, on any construction project in this state that's to a school, renovate a school or construct a new school, we do have to obtain the approval of VDOE. That's something everybody's always had to do, and they generally work with us very well. So it's another thing that's in the process, so we have to go through. and that'll slow us down a little bit as we get through it.
So, a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So with any dollars that are used for capital, and if it's not completed by June 2024, what happens?
The expenditure after June 30th of 2024 could not come out of CARES Act funds. It would have to come out of a general purpose fund account or a capital fund account.
Okay, so if we use those funds, we allocate funds for capital, and then they're not used by June 30th, 2024, then we don't get the money. We have to come up with those funds to
Correct.
cover that.
Correct. And
Yeah.
that's why the key's been is we've done all of our work is making sure things like, we'll come back to y'all, we're assessing all of the buildings. We're now working on the budget side of that piece. That's something that you can do within the CARES Act side. And one of the components of the budget is not just the dollar amount, but it's that timeline. Because we have to do engineer drawings, we have to get permits pulled, all knowing it takes time to go through that approval process. The one thing that on the construction that's very difficult right now is the supply chain is not a guarantee. You know, what we get today, and you know that from the work you do, what we got today, tomorrow, all of a sudden may be getting delayed on us, and it changes without us really knowing about it. So we try to build those factors in, but it makes us a little nervous as we build our plans together.
Yeah.
You know, we met with the state superintendent today, and if you're not already in the architectural phase of a project, then it would probably not be possible. But we are in the architectural phase of the project for Christiansburg High School. And so there are some possibilities for Christiansburg High School that some of this money could be used for the current building, not the new addition. Something else to note too is, and this is something we're going to be contacting our legislators about, is that the localities have been given to 2026 to spend their money, where schools have only been given to 2024. And it's it would have to be it have to be a congressional change.
I already wrote Senator Warner and Senator McCain.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So we
I
we
don't
do
know.
need to reach out to our senators and congressmen to ask for that extension through 26.
I haven't reached out to Congressman Griffin, but that would be a nice thing to do too.
You know, we every year we have a legislative breakfast and that type of thing, and that's something that will definitely be on the agenda for that. So, and I know that the superintendents around the state are advocating for this at the national level to extend it, so we can do a little more and have time to do it. So I'll keep you updated as to how that's moving.
So based upon the request of the board, we will bring back to you, including a breakdown of requests of staffing by category, whatever it is you would like us to bring so that we can give you the information needed for continued discussion. We do need to have an approval of an initial plan before September 30th, the federal requirements. And we will bring this back to you at least every 6 months for a possible amendment. We have to do it at least that often, but we can do it as often as you like. And then we can, as with all of our federal grants, we can make amendments to the plan as we identify.
Right. So September 30th, it's a date that we have to turn it in, but it's not in stone.
Correct.
You know, we can change it as we're moving through, but we do have to give an idea of what we're planning on by September 30th. So it's a rush, but it's not a rush kind of thing. So
This required 20% learning loss, 2.7. That covered this year's summer school and will cover the next year's summer school.
And the 3 years of summer
3 years
school
summer
will
school.
meet 20%.
Okay.
It kind of looks like what we have to go through with regular budgeting. We want this much, but we can only afford this much. So,
yeah.
nice to see what everyone feels their buildings need, but sometimes that just can't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so please, read through those lists that the buildings have requested and start giving us some ideas as to the direction that the board would like to go and how to fund and what to fund moving forward.
We can use the money for air quality upgrades if we need to do.
Yes, ma'am. Kind of where we've leaned with Dr. Meyer's direction when we talked to him is like use ESSER 2 kind of for the ventilation and use ESSER 3 more on the academic side. But there's nothing etched in stone about that. So let me say that. That was just kind of, as we're doing a start in pulling our data together, no decisions have been made. That's just, he gave that to us as a direction to kind of start pulling plans together, and that's what we're focused on. But
So at our next.
So hey guys, this is Mark. I wanted to jump in here at some point.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I did look through some of this, and I already talked to Annie briefly on this, and I think we're on the same page, but I kind of wanted to say it for the benefit of everyone else on the board. But I did notice there was quite a disparity in a lot of cases with how much the schools were asking for, and I know that some of that can come from, different schools have different needs, but some of the stuff I saw, Shawsville Middle asking for, $2,000 and Harding not even being on the list, while, Gilbert Lincoln is asking for $1.4 million. So at some point, I'm hoping too that one thing that would happen is that there would be some move towards some kind of, parity, equity between the schools. Maybe principals can get together, or staff within the schools can look and see what other people are asking for. Like Tommy said, this is the first time we've done something like this, so in a lot of cases, maybe people didn't know they could ask for something, or they didn't have that idea, and so it would be nice to see maybe a little bit more of, evening and redistribution of these numbers so that they're, I know we can't fund everything that people want, but I'm hoping that, some of these numbers come up, and maybe some of them will have to come down, but that, we'll get quite a bit of funding for each of our schools.
Yeah, and not downplaying what Shawsville Middle School asked for, but they also got a tremendous amount of resources when they were working on accreditation. So they're ahead of the game for a lot of needs.
Yeah, but still, I agree with Mark. There is definitely a real disparity. It's like one school asked for like 100,000, another asked for over $1 million, and I can kind of see this happening. That having been in these meetings, oh yeah, let's talk about what we need, and nobody wants to be the one to ask for a lot of money, and they don't want to be the school that seems like they're overly selfish, but then other schools are like, hey, let's just go for it, and so you've got a whole different kind of mindset, and right. I don't know if everybody, I don't know how this was laid out to the schools, whether they understood quite what they could do. So I would like to see that. Now we can, okay, here's what you came up with. Now let's maybe go back and rethink what you want, and maybe be a little more realistic.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And what I'm hearing you say, Mark, too, is it probably would be good for the principals to get together and look at each other's list and say, oh, I didn't think of that, or, well, yeah, maybe that's overkill, or, that type of thing, and see if we can create some consistency amongst the different levels between elementary, middle, and high schools. And is that what you all are asking?
Yeah, I think that, and also different programs too, within the schools. I mean, not just each school getting money, but are there programs that go across the schools, say like a music program, or and we want to make sure that they might also have the ability to use some of those funds, and so those are cross school type activities that maybe one school isn't thinking about that, but everybody could benefit from it. So it would be good to bring in those types of groups also.
Okay. Do you understand the direction, Ms. Whitaker? Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you all.
Yeah, and I'm also going to add one other thing. I did notice that, to your point, Sue, there at the bottom of that list on slide 7, I believe, there's actually some stuff that cuts across a bunch of different schools. Like CTE is asking for money, student services, technology, elementary education. So some of that may already be captured in there. But I'd love to see stuff from, some of our more advanced programs and stuff, because some of those kids have kind of lost things within that program too. I don't know if Gifted is something that they could do. Some of our AP expansion that we've talked about and stuff like that. I don't know if that's something that we can take advantage of, but it would be nice to see something a little bit more broad, I guess. But I'm really happy. I mean, that's not a criticism. I'm really happy that this money's available, and this is obviously a new process for all of us.
I'll be happy to do that. In terms of the AP expansion, I'm not sure of that one just because it needs to address learning loss. And so I don't know if we could use it to expand programs unless we could somehow tie it to their past learning loss. So that one might be a little more difficult. But I think having them share across groups and talk about, because I think you guys are right on, we're not used to being asked. You know, teachers and schools are not, you know, they said, can we really ask? And I actually had to tell a couple, yes, well, can we put staff? Yes, but we can't we can't keep it recurring. I said, that's okay. Put it in and let the school board look at it. So I do think there was quite a bit of, we just don't know what to do with this open-ended request. And then they will see, Ms. Cass, I think some, maybe one researched a certain program and others go, oh, I hadn't seen that one. We would be interested in that as well.
Almost needed to have like 3 major categories, like one safe opening school needs to be done for that. The other is like the specific needs, like we're going to need mental health probably more than ever before, things like that. And then the third category is, of course, the learning loss, but the 20% kind of covers that. So that's what I was actually wondering. When you say the learning loss, that we have to put aside the summer school, 20% on that 2.7 million, we still have to spend learning loss from 9.6 as well. You see what I'm saying?
You can't. 20% is just the minimum.
The minimum.
Okay. Yeah, I
20%
was
is
just,
the minimum. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say in looking through the list, I feel like the strongest request schools had was staff to
Yeah.
address the learning
Yeah.
loss,
Yeah, and I
think
see
the
a lot of,
school program is meeting the needs of a certain targeted group, but there are certainly wider reaching
Yeah.
needs as well. And so I think what we saw was schools are finding the value in having staff there to help with that
Yeah.
learning loss.
Right.
Yeah,
And to Tommy's comments and Dr. Myers, that we start building capacity to keep those folks, because in 3 years, these funds will go
Yeah.
away. So as we always ask for staffing in our regular budget, this is where we need to make sure those positions we
Will
try
stay.
to secure.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt that some of these positions that we're putting in are there.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do it unless they were really important and that they're needed. But yeah, we can't wait to 2024 budget to say, okay, now we need to keep all these positions, because you know as well as I do, the likelihood of us having that funding will not be the case.
Yeah.
So starting this budget year, I think it's important for us too to evaluate the positions and how effective the positions are being, and then make recommendations. Okay, which ones do we want to just get in the budget now so it's always there, kind of a thing from day one.
Because some of these positions, if we really look back, indeed, in 2008, 2009, those positions have been cut and we haven't been able to recover them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's, just asking for what we had, quite frankly.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are positions that we had that were cut. That's a great point. So. All right, anything else? Anything else regarding this topic?
I would just ask one follow-up, which would be, is there a time when you would like that back? We do have administrative retreat coming up. Do you want this back by the next meeting? Do you want to, we've got to have it done by September 30th, but I want to make sure you guys have enough time to review it, and then if you want something else from us, so that we know when you want this.
Right. So we essentially have 4 meetings before you have to turn that in. So if we can space that out to where it's not too much on staff, but also getting us what we need.
So would 2 meetings from now work?
The next
Give them
work
time
session,
to work with us, time to
it'd
work with
be August
leadership.
10th. August 10th. Well, if we move that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 2 August meetings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
1 September meeting,
Right.
or 2 September.
2 September
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, what would be good about that is, I would recommend that we take to the principals at the administrative retreat, and then they take it back to their folks and their leadership teams and teachers to review whatever they came up with, and then of course come back again and so make sure that teachers have input on what's being asked for as well. But yeah, if you give us a couple of meetings, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody good with that? All right.
Okay. Next, the health and safety update. The administration will provide the current guidelines for health and safety measures during the 21-22 school year for the board's discussion and consideration for approval. We understand that the CDC recommendations announced last week have started additional conversations around masking in schools. Mr. Garrettson is here to provide you with an update on the CDC guidance and our latest conversations with the VDOE. Mr. Garrettson?
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Good evening, board members. I do hope you've had some opportunity during the summer to maybe have some time away from some of this and maybe some time with your family. But I'm certainly sure, just like us at the division offices, I'm sure you're already beginning to get those questions out in the community about what's coming in the fall, what's coming next, what should we expect for the next year. So we do hope tonight to just provide kind of some COVID guidance update, the best information we have to this point. I don't think any of this is secret. It's all public information, so I'm sure that you're going to have some familiarity with it. Heard some of it, I'm sure, already. And if you're already very, very familiar, please forgive me if I'm being redundant. Some major guidance documents that have been in place and are in place. Of course, we've operated for quite a while under governor's executive orders. Those orders have provided a lot of information, a lot of requirements, quite honestly, for us regarding distancing, regarding quarantining, regarding masking. Those orders were 76 and 79. They were amended and extended several times, and ultimately that last order, 79, expired June 30th of 2021. Immediately behind that, the very next day, the Virginia Department of Health issued a public health order on July 1st. That public health order basically came behind the governor's order and said, no, we're still in a state of public health emergency, and put forward some guidance that addressed some things, not as much, but addressed some things, particularly some mask guidelines. And again, those are basically considered requirements when they come from the health department. They've already said that document is set to expire on July 25th, so we've got, 12 or so days before that document will either go away or will be modified in some form. So those are kind of the marching orders we have at this point. Last Friday, the CDC released guidance for COVID prevention in K-12 schools. CDC has done that quite a bit, right? We've had similar documents all along the way, guidelines being provided to us to help make decisions. This set of guidance is almost a complete rewrite. Lots of changes, significant differences released on Friday. Pretty late in the day. Even later that same day, the state superintendent released a memo which basically said, hey, we're aware of the new CDC guidance, and we're going to work with the Virginia Department of Health to get you some additional updates, some additional information very soon. So these are the documents that are sort of in play at this time. The updated CDC guidance is the bulk of this slide, but we do have that current guideline there at the top that talks about, from the Virginia Department of Health Public Health Order, that it does still require all individuals age 5 and older to wear masks indoors at K-12 schools. Masks are generally not required outdoors. There are some exceptions. We don't detail all of those here, but some obvious exceptions have to do, of course, with eating, students who have disabilities, students who maybe have medical conditions that prohibit a mask, and also they do make some exceptions, notably for bands and masking in this public health order, again, set to expire in about 12 days. The new guidance from the CDC, again, almost a complete rewrite. It really does put forth some guidelines for indoor mask use and physical distancing that is determined primarily based upon vaccination status. And to elaborate on that a little bit, it does specify that those individuals who are vaccinated, it says, are not required to wear masks in the public school buildings. It also says those who are not vaccinated should wear masks in the public school buildings. There's lots of other details, ifs, ands, and buts associated with that. But again, they do kind of draw that distinction between vaccinated or not. They do make the point that school divisions have an obligation, have a responsibility to continue to monitor your local data, your local information. And of course, school boards do have the option to choose universal masking if that's what the board sees as appropriate, based upon current COVID data, based upon the perception of the community or the belief of the community. They do say, of course, that option is there, but their recommendation is to divide your guidelines across vaccinated or not. They go on to say indoor physical distancing requirements can be reduced to 3 feet within a school from the original 6. But they also make the point that if you can't maintain 3 feet, that doesn't mean you should move to hybrid or virtual. That means you need to put other mitigation in place. If you can't maintain 3 feet, then you need to put those other things in place to keep students in school. They note that outdoor activities are generally considered safe without masks, regardless of vaccination status. They note that masks are still required on school buses as they're considered public transportation, and we do still have a federal executive order that requires masks on public transportation. And then lastly, in one of the appendices, it does speak to the belief that schools can collect COVID vaccination information, just like we collect other information regarding vaccines. That was what was released on Friday. Again, some additional information that we received since Friday. We were asked to wait patiently for additional guidance from the Virginia Department of Education, the Virginia Department of Health regarding masking requirements, the mechanisms for documenting vaccination status, and other information related to mitigation. But we were also told to not expect any sort of masking mandate, and that localities will make decisions about whether they will require the masks for individuals in schools, vaccinated, unvaccinated, or both. So board, we do understand that to mean that we're probably not going to get any kind of directive to tell us what we will or won't do. It will be left at the discretion of the board. With that being said, as we discussed earlier on, I'm sure you're getting many questions as you are out and about in the community from friends and other people who just recognize you. We're getting those same questions about what's coming next year. I certainly understand and know that the board knows that school is starting soon, August 12th. But we also know that we've got a little bit of a gap there. When you're in large dynamic school systems, right? Even though summer school seemed like it just ended, we kind of never stop, right? Things keep happening, things keep occurring for students and families. So we again are under the health department's order through July 25th, unless there's a change. And then of course, school starting on the 12th, we do know that we have these types of events occurring between now and then. New administrator meet and greets. We have a lot of new administrators in the division. They'd like to meet their school communities. We are having band camps, and again, we put in the parentheses there, we're not sending anyone away to camp, no overnight camps, but we're going to have large band groups at schools. Out-of-season athletic workouts are occurring. Mr. Knott says we've got our fall seasons tryouts starting usually in late July. That would include competition in sideline cheer, cross-country, football, golf, and volleyball. Of course, we have all those teacher pre-service days as we get closer to the beginning, and of course, the last big event usually before school starts, those back-to-school events or back-to-school nights and open houses. So again, board, we certainly understand that you know what's on the horizon for us and when school starts. And again, we've got that little bit of time between July 25th and the start of school, where we certainly want you to have all the information you need to make the decisions that you're comfortable with. And certainly as the leadership team, we stand ready to address the direction that you provide to us. Any questions I could possibly answer?
So if tryouts are held outside, then our students do not have to wear masks, right?
That would be correct right now. Yes, ma'am?
The one activity there that's inside is volleyball.
Right.
And so that's, it's a lot for you all to discuss and decide in a short amount of time, unfortunately. And, of course, volleyball is indoors. I guess you all making the decision of, do you require a mask for everyone? Do you require masks for only ones who are not vaccinated? We do have the ability now to ask for the information of vaccinated or not vaccinated. Do you not require masks for anyone? There's a lot for you all to discuss and make decisions on.
Yeah, let me make sure I understand, Jason, what we need to, so it sounds like there's going to be new guidance coming out. So right now, the VDH, they're going to come out, I just want to make sure I understand. They're going to come out with something on the 25th.
Not necessarily. The current order they have in place, it's written in the order to expire.
Okay, but it could be the same, or it could be something different. Okay. So then the CDC has recommendations that are somewhat counter to what the VDH's recommendations are right now, correct?
They do conflict right now.
Could you go back? Can we go back one slide? Or another one? Okay. Yet these events are going to happen between the 25th and, what was it, the 11th or 12th or something of August. And it sounds like what's going to happen is it's going to be up to us to decide. I mean, if I'm summarizing this properly, it sounds like it's going to be just the way it... Wait, my mic is weird. It's going to be just the way it was with everything else. It's going to be up to us to make decisions. No one's going to make it easy for us and give us guidelines, and it's going to be up to us. So it sounds like, if I'm hearing you right, we need to decide tonight we're going to do with all these. Now you can flip to those other two slides, please. What we're going to do with all these things?
Yeah, since
I'm just trying to make sure I get what the question is here.
Yeah, what's that, Jamie?
Everything is outside except for one sport.
Except for volleyball.
I mean, they've already said that.
Well, pre-service days or teacher pre-service,
school events.
back to school events and open houses are all of that. The only thing that's outdoors is the tryouts. Well, and the athletics, but the other stuff's.
Camps are outside.
Yeah, well, band camps both. I think they have indoor and outdoor.
Yeah, they use indoor.
They use indoor too.
Actually more out.
So it sounds like we need to make a decision as to how we want to manage these particular programs, because this.
Yeah, next meeting is.
Our next meeting isn't until August.
Yeah.
So I have a question about being able to collect vaccination information. Is that for employees or students? Both? What?
The CDC document speaks to both. It also says, essentially, that's up to local jurisdictions to work out and to speak with our attorney.
Okay. So requiring folks to get the vaccination is not on the table because they haven't.
These documents, no
right.
Require.
Folks are saying you can't do that until the vaccines have been approved by the.
Requiring the vaccine has not been discussed at any point in any of these documents. It essentially boils down to, if the board were to decide that you would permit vaccinated individuals to not wear the mask indoors, then the CDC does provide basic guidance that says we would be able to collect that documentation information to be able to say, yes, this person was vaccinated and could therefore not wear their mask.
So we can ask for.
That requires the vaccine.
So we can ask for proof of vaccination. We can't require them to get the vaccine.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is kind of like, well, I guess it's not like at tech right now. For employees, they are requiring you to show your vaccine documentation. And if you don't, then you have to be tested on a regular basis.
There are quite a few references to surveillance testing in the CDC guidance as well. And most of that guidance, if not all of that guidance, is directed toward unvaccinated individuals.
Right.
So are we gonna have to hire individuals to go around and enforce folks who have not been vaccinated to make sure they're wearing their masks, students who haven't been vaccinated to make sure they're wearing their masks? How could you even manage this?
It would absolutely require a good bit of work, updated lists, all of that, all that you can imagine that it would entail to keep up in an 800,000 student school. Who is and who isn't? That does become a large task. Of course, we also are the division that kept up with who was remote and who was hybrid and who should be on school what day, and absolutely the work is there. The workload is there. Do you have a super reliable team at your building levels? Yes, you do.
Yeah, who are also expected to run the school and make sure things are going right as far as learning and other activities.
Yes, ma'am. This on top of everything else. Yes, ma'am.
Well, crickets.
Just one more. So anyone who wants to continue to wear a mask can always continue to wear a mask, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
And I try in my conversation with parents to never speak for the board, but I have had some parents call and ask and say, if we wanted to continue to wear the mask for whatever reason, kind of during the reasonable time period of COVID, my answer has been yes. I feel confident the board would allow you to wear the mask, whether you're vaccinated or not, whether they make you or not. If that helps you be in school, in person, comfortable in learning, I felt like the board would support that.
Do we have an idea of the percentage of our staff who is vaccinated?
I believe it's 70.
Based on appointments that we helped coordinate, we're in the ballpark of 70 or 72%.
Yeah.
That doesn't include anyone who made those appointments on their own. That doesn't
Right.
include anyone who got all the way up to the nurse and said, well, no, thank you, and walked away.
Yeah.
Or our new staff as well.
Correct. Or new staff.
Yeah.
Or anyone who may have gotten it outside of our windows.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, the same is true for students. And of course, ultimately, students 12 and up, right?
Yep.
We've got a whole group of students who aren't even eligible for a vaccine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little confused. So I'm looking at the plan that we have here, the health and safety plan. We don't even talk about masking or vaccination or anything. Like, the word's not even mentioned in the plan. But now we need to make a decision on how we're going to handle this. So how are the two like, wouldn't this be part of the health and safety plan?
It would. Of course, we were crossing our fingers to hope that we would be told what to do,
Yeah.
to be quite frank with you. And now we are being told.
So it sounds like we need
that
to
we're
sort
not
of
told what to do, and it's going to be left up to us again.
right.
Yes.
So it sounds like we need to take the health and safety plan and sort of
Yeah, we will have to
start all over again, or
we'll have to just modify it and adjust it based on what we do decide now.
like right now.
All right. So for this situation,
I mean, I don't mean to sound,
It's reality.
I'm not trying to be smart. I'm just really, I'm trying to piece this together as we're talking. I didn't realize that this evening we were going to have to now that all of a sudden we're making all
None
of
of
these
us did.
decisions.
None of us
yeah,
did.
So that's
something that happens too.
so that's why I'm just making sure I understand
Yeah.
what it is
We were
you are
hoping-
asking us to do.
Right. Of course, last week CDC guidance came out, and this morning there was a state call with the state superintendent. And we were hoping we would get that magic answer before tonight and come to you and say, hey, this is what we're supposed to do. And that is not what happened.
That was very foolish.
It was very unfortunate. and
Because there's
Should
no
never
easy
have
answer.
expected that.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer.
So
Nobody wants to make the big decisions.
Right.
so.
tonight.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm just wondering, since they're pushing this decision down to the local level for us to make, it seems to me that this would be a situation where it might be helpful for us to have context from the local health department, right? Because there was some mention. Jason said something about context with caseloads in the area and things like that. So it would kind of be, I would be interested at least, and I'm happy to reach out to them on my own, to Dr. Bissell on my own or whatever. But I was just wondering if we had any input from the health department yet on any of this.
That's a good question. The other thing too, something is as big as this. Tonight we're having a non-televised, it's not a live meeting, and I don't think people knew this was coming up for decision making. We didn't know, right? We didn't know. So it's like this is tough to do without even getting any public feedback on it.
Right.
We're being asked to make this decision without even any context.
One decision I think you have to make tonight, and you don't have to make any, you still can choose not to make a decision. We can do what we've been doing. All right? You could just say, okay, we're not going to make a decision on this. We're going to just say we're going to keep doing what we've been doing. But these events, you could wait to the next meeting to actually have another discussion about what you want to do for school.
School year.
These events here, these are things that are happening in high schools. For the most part, they're happening in high schools. The extracurricular activities that are starting up, and most all are outside, which could maybe help you make a decision. And in this age of student, they've all had the opportunity to be vaccinated. So I guess what do we tell when they start in a couple of weeks? The sports teams. Danny, when is the actual first day of practice?
Depends on the sport.
All right, what you got?
Golf is the first one to start. They will start in about a week and a half. The other sports football will start the last day of July, and the other sports start the first week of August.
All right, so let me remind you what we did. Because you remember those fall sports were they were late.
Mm-hmm.
We did not require a mask for those sports, regardless. You remember that? Because they were outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Volleyball, we did require masking.
Yeah.
but volleyball,
Indoor.
we required mask
Because
indoors.
it was indoor. Yeah.
So
Because
we
it was
could
indoors.
leave it the same as how we have it now.
Correct. You could leave it the same, and then August 3rd, come back and
And make a decision with the school.
make a decision for school. And yeah.
I mean, for the
I'd like to suggest.
go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah, I would make a suggestion that I'd like to hear what the rest of you guys are thinking about school year and about these events. So I'd make a suggestion that we go around and do that as quickly as we can, I guess. And like Dr. Meyer said, maybe just make a decision on these events coming up, and then this gives the public time to weigh in, gives us time to kind of chew on this for the August 3rd meeting. Is that right?
Yes.
Back to the question about Dr. Bissell, have we had any discussions with her since this came out today, Jason?
I did. I was able to text her briefly, and of course, to Mr. Trebaka's question, currently our numbers are very favorable.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we're on the CDC, on their map, we're blue, which is the best color, and then also it is funny because on, of course, Harvard, it's green, which is the best color. So from a data standpoint, we're really in pretty nice shape. The question I posed to the health department was, based upon where we're at in our community, would they support or advocate the CDC guidance that was released on Friday the 9th? And the answer was yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have that piece of information that I can share. Again, trying not to speak on behalf of the health department specifically.
Right, and we also get those updates. The board gets those updates once a week from the health department with that same data.
I mean, personally, I think we have to stick to CDC guidelines unless we hear something else from local health department. Masked people, vaccinated people without masks.
How do you interpret that?
Yeah, unvaccinated.
So vaccinated, no mask, unvaccinated, mask.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're hearing from the CDC.
I mean, that's what we do what we do in our
That's indoors.
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 Yeah. Yes.
So again,
So
I have
what about for, I'm sorry, Penny.
I have the concern as to how that is monitored. Because the reality is folks who don't want to wear a mask, they just don't wear a mask. And we have no idea whether they have been vaccinated or not. And who are we going to put in charge of doing a checklist every day as to who and who has not, and go around and look at them to see if they have a mask on or not?
It's going to fall in laps of administrators and teachers. That's that's just one more thing that they would have to be responsible for if we were to actually ask for documentation. So, yeah, you got the option. We can ask for documentation and try to keep up with it the best we can of who is vaccinated and who's not. Or it's an honor system.
And that's how it is in the community right now. I mean, yeah, it's a trust issue. And if we don't trust as a vaccinated person, then we always can wear the mask since we have that option. And I mean, that's how I do. If I don't feel comfortable, I wear the mask.
Right.
I'm vaccinated. If I feel comfortable, obviously right now, I'm not masked. I mean, I think that's how it's going to be everywhere else.
Yeah, I think it would be difficult for teachers to have to.
With the
I think
policing
after
as well.
having a whole summer of children, for the most part, not wearing masks and out and about, and to suddenly say, "Okay, we're back at school. Put your masks back on," that is going to be a challenge. And I've always erred on the conservative side for the most part as we were making these decisions, but on this, I hope that the majority of our teachers are vaccinated, and if they have not gotten vaccinated, they get vaccinated before August comes. And are not teachers, I should say staff, all of our staff, I'd like to see vaccinated, but we can't force them to be. But I hope they do. And I need to, like the things that you, Jason, you had up the list of activities. Indoor volleyball, do they need to wear a mask?
They didn't during the season. They did during the season.
I know, but I don't think this summer they have been. They've been going to tournaments. They're not wearing masks, and now everybody put a mask on. And I just think it's going to be very difficult to enforce that. And I know that there may be parents who disagree with that, but I think it's just going to be they're going to spend a lot of time policing things. And I think the biggest concerns are going to be in the elementary. And I think in the high schools and the middle schools, the high schools definitely not as much because they can be vaccinated if they want to be vaccinated.
Middle school is odd because
middle school's you got your sixth graders who mostly can't be, and you've got your eighth graders who can be, and then seventh graders somewhere in between.
So could I make a suggestion that maybe at this meeting we tackle what needs to happen to get us to the August 3rd meeting, and for those activities that are going on, and then for August 3rd we figure out the schools.
And by then we'll have more information.
Hopefully.
And I think trying to tackle the whole thing now
is
too much. I'd rather go back to that slide again.
Okay. Could we?
Sorry, Jason. And if we could just...
When you say going back to the slide, can you tell me which page?
Sure. Hold on a second. When we get there, we'll tell you.
We're all dark right now. So.
Yeah. We'll tell you as soon as we get there.
Everyone's going to see my Google Drive.
Is the board okay with that approach?
There absolutely needs to be discussion before that decision is made. So I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay. I think we need time to...
I'm in agreement with you, Marty. I mean, I think that's basically what I said. But I would add that specifically to be prepared for that August 3rd meeting, I would at least like a rundown of what my fellow board members are saying or thinking. Sorry.
And I'd like to,
I
well,
share my thinking.
and I guess I'd like to know what Dr. Bissell's advice is at that point in time, too.
Okay, hold on, we're getting to the right slide. Which one are you?
It's the last slide,
yep.
isn't it?
Yeah, this is the one.
It's the very last slide in the COVID
Got it. Got it.
slideshow.
Thanks.
It says school events between July 25th and August 12th. Are you there?
Sorry, I don't mean to put pressure on the board. I know
Sure
this
you
is
are.
huge.
Oh, yeah. What's a new administrator meet and greet? Is that meeting new principals?
When students.
So it's like
and families-
parents going to meet new principals, like when they have the big meeting?
Correct. Right now,
Couple of them have
with
one
our new
already, I think.
principals,
That's like an
they're-
auditorium sort of thing, isn't it? Or
they're doing various different things.
Right, or
Come
just
by,
come
say
in
hi.
and like a go through.
okay.
And again, for the board, just a reminder, up through July 25th, you are under the health
Right,
department order
right.
that says inside the building, we're all in masks. So that carries you a couple more weeks, and then we don't know what may come after that.
Sure. So we just need to make the decision between the July 25th and August 12th. I mean, July 25th and August 3rd, essentially.
And you may get additional information, but everything we're receiving says, don't expect a mask mandate, expect to make the decision at the local level.
Okay.
So let's do what we've been doing till we meet next time. And then talk about it.
But we're meeting after July 25th.
I'm okay with that, except for the sports that have to
Yeah, I'm-
participate indoors. I don't support wearing masks for sports
I
indoors.
don't support
it's
it
hard
indoor
enough,
either.
and it's
Absolutely
hot,
not.
and I think it can be more dangerous. And those that are afraid and want to wear a mask can more than gratefully wear so.
Right.
But I think it's
I
hard.
don't think it needs to be
and
mandated.
I just don't think. I think that's the one exception that we need to make. Is that?
It's an exception in the order.
Yeah. Okay. then.
So
there
right
you
now,
go.
the health department order says one of the exceptions for mask wear is while exercising.
That's
So
right.
Oh,
There
okay.
you go.
make
then.
that-
So that's already
make that
taken
exception.
care of.
But that's up till the
Opposed
25th.
to what sometimes the public thinks, there are exceptions to those rules
Yeah.
that are out there that we sometimes overlook. So.
And I think those students that are especially in a high school that could be vaccinated too, I don't think it's fair to ask them to be masked anyway. I mean,
Right. Okay, so that takes care of the sports ones.
What did we decide?
Yeah,
We
that's-
didn't, it's already
tell me.
decided for us.
Well, tell us what you all just
What
said.
is it we
just to make sure
decided?
Outdoor sports, they do not have to wear masks. In the sports indoor, have the exception of exercise not to have to wear masks.
Right.
If I'm hearing correctly.
Under the
So the-
current order.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
But the current order up till July 25th says that in the building, they have to wear masks. So between the 25th and the 3rd, is that what we said, is what the decision we have to make is.
Right.
So the only thing that's left would be the teacher pre-service days, back to school events, and new administrator.
Now, they only have to wear a mask if there are students in the building. So when our new teachers come back, students will not be in the building,
Right.
so they would not have to wear a mask.
So that takes off the teacher pre-service days. So now we're,
We don't have teachers back till the beginning of August, right?
so now we're
Teachers.
just doing the meet and greet, the band camps on the inside part, and the back-to-school events. Is that true?
Yeah,
Right?
but
That's all
band
that's
has the
left?
Exception of the mask as well, correct?
Band does have a line in the current order that says it reduced their distance from 10 to 6, and it does talk about if the mask causes, interference in playing the instrument.
That's right.
Okay. So then we don't have to
That's right.
do that one either. So we're just the top and the bottom one.
Well, the back-to-school events don't happen until a week before school starts, so we don't have to do that one either.
But
Wait.
unless
We should be
the
okay on
Department
August
of Health
3rd.
gives us something additional, that all expires on the 25th.
Right. So,
We're only left with CDC guidance at that point.
so that's what I said. We've just got to make the decision from the 25th to the
Right.
3rd. Right.
And I would say follow the CDC guidance after the 25th.
I would agree
Well, the
with you on that,
CDC
Marty.
guidance is wearing a mask for any indoor events, though, isn't it?
For unvaccinated.
Unmasked or, okay, it's, okay. Gosh.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chewbacca, what did you say?
I was seconding what you said. I was saying that I agree with you, that I think
Okay.
temporarily we should, I would support just following the CDC. And I think to Ms. Franklin's point, I think at least for this short time, I don't think we worry about, you know, people proving it or anything like that. We just ask them to do it.
That was my next question.
So,
The honor
yeah,
system.
So my concern is if we're not going to ask people to prove it, and we're not going to have people policing it at this point, when are we going to do that? Or how are we going to do that? Because the reality is when we go into the grocery store, I know at my place of employment, people are going to do what they're going to do at this point. And trying to, you know, police who has been vaccinated would be an absolute nightmare for our administrators, frustration for our employees and our students. I believe we're at the point now, if someone feels like they need to wear a mask, they're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm for not requiring the mask because we will never be able to enforce it. And if folks want to voluntarily wear their mask, then by all means, we should say, please do that.
Well, it's no different than you see in the store now.
Level, exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
But if we get to a certain level of infection in the community, then we will have to revisit.
Sure.
And mandate
Then
masks.
we have our elementary students who aren't able to have any kind of protection whatsoever. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm at with that, but trying to keep people in masks and wasting time of our administrators and any other staff to try to go around and do a checklist every day or two or three times a day is just ridiculous because it just won't work.
I agree.
It won't work.
Yes.
I agree.
I tend to agree with you, Penny, but I would also say that for our staff, I mean, I think it's an issue of professionalism that if we make it a requirement that you need to wear a mask if you're not vaccinated, you need to wear a mask, right? I mean, if you misrepresent that you are vaccinated and, you know, if you're, for example, if you're a classroom teacher and you're constantly, I'm talking about somebody pulling their mask down for, you know, a second or having it around their chin or something, but if somebody's just not ever wearing a mask saying I'm vaccinated when they're not, then I think we handle that the way we would any other, I guess, disciplinary action or something like that. But that's, you know, I don't think that's acceptable to lie, you know, for our staff. But I hear what you're saying, and I agree.
See, I would be more apt to say proof of vaccination for staff than I would. Obviously, students are not going to be able to do that. That's
Lots of reasons for people not to be vaccinated.
But that's their
People
choice.
that have allergy concerns and different things. I have a coworker that can't. Her doctor recommended her not to get vaccinated. So I mean, you can't do that. That's just not right.
Discriminating.
That's
That's
exactly
discriminating
right.
against people who don't.
I'm not saying you
or
have
can't
to get a vaccination.
I'm just saying to.
You can
call them
choose
out.
not to, but then
What's the point of getting a vaccination if it doesn't protect you?
Right.
I would say, if you don't mind, if they had a medical documentation,
they would be- right.
we would be required to
Right.
accommodate that. You know,
Right.
that if their doctor said I cannot do this, that we would have to work with them on that.
But it's like what they're doing at Tech. It's vaccinated, then you are in a pool to be periodically tested. I don't see why we couldn't do something like that. I'm not saying they have to, that they should, but that way, if they're periodically tested, then we know that's okay that they're not wearing a mask. So, I mean, maybe that's something we consider. I know we're not going to decide this tonight, but it might be something to consider.
Can I?
And maybe parents might feel safer about sending their children back, knowing that teachers are.
Parents are going to want to have a say as to what their kids will and will
Yes.
not do. I can assure you. of
Oh
that.
yeah, I'm
Can
sure
I
they will.
circle back and take care of that July 25th to August 3rd gap? Or with these things, are we all okay with saying for the top and bottom one, because the others are already taken care of, to follow the CDC guidelines? Are we all okay with that?
Yeah,
I'm
fine
okay with
that,
that.
but I'm unrealistic. that you cannot, to be following people around, checking that they have their mask on or off with a list.
But the CDC,
But the
that's not what the
CDC
guidelines
doesn't
say.
require you to check.
I'm
It's an
sorry.
honor
I
system.
can only hear one person
I'm
at
sorry.
a time.
The
So-
CDC's is an honor system. The CDC's guidance,
Yeah, and I'm saying, really?
CDC
What-
does seem to indicate that we would keep up with who's vaccinated and who's not.
Right.
It does seem to indicate that
Oh,
in the
okay.
appendix.
Yeah, because quite frankly, the honor system hasn't worked for a long, long time when it comes to masks and vaccinations, because folks just don't have to tell you.
okay.
And I might remind the group again for
See, I don't
our elementary school students, none of them are old enough for a
Right.
vaccine. So it is easy to say they all, under the CDC guidance, should still be in masks.
And I think that we need to talk about it. That
Right,
one's
I
one that
agree.
needs to be
So
addressed. But I don't interpret the CDC guidelines like you do, Penny. I'm reading guidelines for indoor mask use. Distancing is determined based upon guidelines, determined based upon vaccination status. It doesn't say it's required. I think that it's,
Right.
if you say you're vaccinated, then I guess you don't wear masks. I mean, I don't think they're asking you to chase after people, and
Yeah, that's what Jason just said.
I don't interpret it that way.
I believe it's Appendix B really speaks to, I think for a lot of schools, the concern is are we even allowed to ask this? What are the logistics of managing this? And the document does seem to say you should be collecting this and monitoring this. And basically puts it with other vaccines and says, like for example, a typical 10th grader for us, we probably have 20 immunizations on that student on file, right, already. They basically say, of course, speak to your attorney, but they also say, you basically reach out to a person and essentially say, if you would like to not wear a mask, please provide me with your documentation that you're vaccinated and okay. Again, with lots of caveats of this is guidance and talk to your attorney.
And
So do we want to say for that time frame, and the small amount of what am I trying to say? Activity that's going on, that we just want to say follow the CDC guidelines, and essentially you're on the honor system, and then we can refine that for returning to school? I'm just throwing out an idea.
I'm fine with that. I just don't think it's realistic, but I'm fine with saying that.
Okay. What is the feedback from others? I'm just trying to give
Yeah,
some
I'm okay with
guidance
that.
for this time frame. I'm sorry, Mark, what did you say?
I'm okay with that too.
Okay.
Repeat what you said again, please.
So for the top and the bottom, the new administrator back to school events open house, between July 25th and our August 3rd meeting, they would follow the CDC guidelines. So for vaccinated people, you don't have to wear masks, and unvaccinated people have to wear masks. And we aren't gonna be patrolling that.
Right. You're basically
That's on the
talking about
honor
9
system, huh?
9 days.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. So how does that sound for people?
I'm good with that.
Okay, Dana,
That's fine.
Sue?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have, wow,
Little plan.
wait, we have all 7 of us that agreed on something. That's just tremendous. Yay.
It's only
us.
for 9 days, that's why.
It's okay. Hey, I'll take 9 days. I'll take 9 days of a 7. So, does that give you the guidance you need now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good teamwork.
Right.
Good teamwork.
Good
Okay.
job.
So then August 3rd, this will be back on the agenda. It will be for what the return to school will be for everyone. And I think we have an idea of where people stand in general on how they feel about that. So we'll just have more discussion on it. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right.
Do we have an idea where people stand?
Oh,
I think
I shared, but
I think most everybody kind of voiced their opinion. Not everybody, but most
Okay,
everybody.
yeah, I guess I voiced my opinion on the July 25th to the August 10th or whatever, but I don't feel like I've shared or heard much about where people are on the school year, but
We haven't. We didn't talk about that yet.
Yeah, we need some time to process it, I think. We just needed to get them to August 3rd.
well, I think okay, but part of the
But we're just
part
not starting
part
to
of
hear
the
from community.
processing.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even heard from.
Give this time for parents to email, parents to come talk to
Right.
start saying, this is what I think. And we've gotten a few emails, but not a whole lot. And that's the number one question. And, I wouldn't want to make a decision based on that without hearing from what a lot of parents want to see happen.
I agree.
So
That's
way
what I was
is-
saying
yeah.
earlier.
And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to commit to
Yeah,
something
I'm not
until.
either. I don't want to have a discussion.
I'm not asking for any commitments. I guess I'm just wondering what people are thinking about it. I mean, I have some thoughts, but you know what? I'll put them on my Facebook page and send you guys a link, and you can read them.
Okay. So normally, folks, we would have been voting on the health and safety plan, but we're not going to be doing that tonight. We do have to have it approved before the start of school, so we'll be bringing that back on August 3rd for more discussion, and probably not vote on it till August 10th unless the board wants to vote on it on August 3rd.
Can you just clarify for me what our meeting dates are in August?
Well, we're going to discuss that in a few minutes.
Okay,
Can
good.
it
Okay.
wait?
Yeah, I can wait.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so our next item is the grant proposal. Do you want to speak to that?
I got it. This grant, this is first responder communication during crisis events. This grant would provide communication equipment for Shawsville Middle School and Auburn High School. The equipment will enhance communication among first responders in the event of an emergency in this building. This grant is brought to you tonight for your approval. And Dr. Schultz is here if you have questions.
Can we talk a little bit about the challenge at Shawsville Middle School with communications?
Yeah, I was wondering why those two schools.
Actually, Doug or Tommy might actually be able to speak to this.
You use microphone.
Mr. Trebek, I can't hear you if you don't use the mic.
So I would defer to Doug or Tommy on the specifics at the buildings, but essentially there are just some dead zones in terms of radio communications. These are signal boosters that would allow different responding agencies to communicate and coordinate better. It's specific to the design of the two buildings.
I think that's all.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Jonathan. Do I have a motion to approve the grant proposal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So I do have a question. It won't interfere with the vote.
Okay.
We know we have a problem in those buildings and it's related to safety. What are we gonna do if we don't get the grant?
We'll hope we get the grant, and then we'll go from there. How confident are we we're going to get this grant? Any ideas? And this
It's a national grant. So
Is it?
it's-
Okay.
It's a big pool of money, but we're up against everybody.
Okay. We will address it if we don't, because it needs to be addressed. You're
Dr.
correct.
Meyer, don't we still have intact the software from the sheriff's office on the computers of the teachers?
Yes.
Or the direct contact to
Correct.
the 911 center?
That
Should
does work.
anything, so that's,
This will be an added.
yes.
Backup,
Plus two.
nice backup. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I agree. We still need to have as many things in place as possible.
right.
So, okay.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Next, the AEP Electric Bus School grant.
School bus grant.
School bus grant. This grant will provide the funds to purchase one new electric school bus. It's brought to you tonight for approval. Very excited about this.
Do I have a motion to approve the grant proposal as presented?
I move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I have a couple questions. So, electric buses are a great idea, except that there's maintenance and other costs that come with buses, electric buses. And it's not as though we have a fleet of them and we are Blacksburg Transit and have the ability to have people who are trained to work on them and have the So how are we going to take care of these electric buses? I know we're getting grants to buy the buses and chargers, but what other costs are going to be involved with? And I'm not against electric buses at all. It's just that I think there's more to it than just saying, hey, we got an electric bus.
There is, and we're partnering with Floyd Merriman's operation to get training through Thomas Bus, so we can start learning how to maintain an electric bus. Because you're correct, I have a hybrid vehicle that has a large amount of batteries into it, and so it's a different operation for me to maintain that particular car. And that's very similar to what we'll have to learn with the buses.
Because I was talking to my husband who works for Blacksburg Transit. He's the finance director there, and there's a lot of costs involved with bringing the electric buses into Blacksburg Transit and what they've had to do to be able to not just purchase them, which is really astronomical for those buses, but the maintenance and care and housing and charging and how long they charge. There's a lot more to it. And I think it's terrific that we can get them, but to have them and then not be able to have to spend, how much are we going to have to spend to now take care of these buses? And
we've looked at it. We don't anticipate that it's going to increase our financial costs. We think going with the one bus with the special ed situation, which we're doing, gives us that opportunity to really use it, still be effective in our routes, save dollars off, which we're doing today, and kind of start identifying what long term, when we start taking 130 buses and convert it into electric. Just like Blacksburg Transit does, our buses sit basically at 3 spots. They either sit at schools, they sit at our central operations, or they sit at people's homes. So when we start saying we're going to go to an all-electric fleet, how do I make sure that that bus that's sitting at someone's home can be charged correctly? Mm-hmm. The other thing that we worry about with electric buses is the amount of miles. Right now, an electric bus can run about 85 miles to 130 miles. And many of our routes, are longer than that distance.
Mm-hmm.
We start talking about all the athletic activities. We have buses on the road 6 days a week, pretty much 52 weeks out of the year, and sometimes out to 7 days a week. When we start going out of town and going to schools, places, how do I make sure I can get electricity when I start to run out? These are the things that we're well on top of. We think that this grant and getting one bus gives us that perfect opportunity to start getting trained on what the challenges are in maintaining the bus, but also what the operation issues are. Maybe through our relationship with Floyd Merriman, we can start making recommendations to maybe make them a little bit more efficient for school systems going forward.
Who's Floyd Merriman?
Floyd is the dealer who we buy our Thomas buses.
Sonny Merriman is the business.
Yeah.
Sonny Merriman,
Okay,
they sell the Thomas buses.
Okay.
Which is the Merriman at Virginia Tech, the Merriman Center.
But they've been the deal in Virginia forever.
They deal with Thomas buses.
But I thought we were getting 2 buses because I thought there was another grant here for another 2
There
buses.
is.
All right, we got, that's the next,
We haven't been on
that's the next
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah, that's the next.
Okay, because I was reading that, I thought that meant we were getting 2 more buses.
Yeah, it's just grants to.
Yeah,
And I just wanted to make, because I just know that, just want to make sure there's not more costs involved in that than just getting a free bus.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Sorry, that was in favor, not opposed. There's a delay
sorry.
there.
Thank you. I know you have a delay.
Time gap.
Thank you for qualifying that. Okay, the next one.
Yeah, the next is a grant that will provide the funds to purchase 2 new electrical school buses in addition to the one funded through the AEP grant. And this is brought to you for approval. And unlike the AEP, this has not been approved. This has not been granted.
It's was just submitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
Do I have a motion to approve the grant proposal as presented?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
So I understand Sue's comments and concerns from the last approval, but I think at some time we're going to have to understand we cannot keep burning fossil fuel
Oh,
and
I
think that
don't
we're
disagree.
still going to be able to breathe and live on this planet. So,
I don't disagree.
right, we have technicians who I'm sure would be chomping at the bit to learn how electrical buses and cars operate, because that's what's coming down for everyone. So I think we are making the right moves here to get ourselves prepared for what our grandchildren who may be sitting in these seats making those decisions about the whole fleet will be up against, but they'll be prepared and have things in place for that to happen.
Okay, anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so the next item on our agenda are the board member reports. If anyone would like to speak, go right ahead.
I'll go first. I didn't really do a spot or anything, but I do want to do some shout outs. I was real happy to hear that we got an email from someone, the person that headed up the Shawsville Junior Beta group that went to Florida. You know, especially since we had a lot of discussion with that, it was really neat to read her email and just talking about all the great things and then the video that she had put forth. And so I do appreciate that. I'm not a great emailer back. I don't like to, you can't see someone's face, and I'm always afraid somebody's going to interpret what I say difficulty. So I like to just kind of do my shout outs here. And I definitely want to do a shout out to EMHS girls soccer team for being the first.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Make sure that we acknowledge that. Along with 5 state champion winners from Auburn.
Of course.
The tennis, the track, softball, baseball, and girls volleyball, and also boys tennis. So can't forget them. And I just want to make sure that like I said, I don't always send an email and I don't always do my kudos over a written document, but I do want to make sure that people know that I am aware and I do see and I am very proud. So,
And if I could piggyback off that a little bit, just found out this afternoon that Auburn High School won the Wells Fargo Cup for their division, which is the top athletic school in the state. That's 5 out of the last 6 years.
that's
Wow.
right. That's amazing.
So, yeah.
Very impressive.
So proud of them.
So Jamie stole my thunder.
I'm sorry.
So that's okay. I just want to let my district know, and I'm proud of all of every school in our district, but my district, I'm just so proud of you. The looks on the faces when you brought home that state title, and then, tears were in my eyes. So I put out a huge Facebook post and did emails and all that. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to Auburn, everybody who brought home the state championships. And I want to tie that all back into we letting our kids play sports, get back to playing sports. Look at what this does for them. Look at what this does for our community, and look at what this does for their self-esteem and just who we are. So thank you, VHSL, for letting us make that decision and our kids being able to come back to somewhat of a normal, part of the year anyway. I do have to say that a lot of the spring season just finished up literally a few weeks ago, back in June, towards the end of June. The varsity girls softball went to regionals, and they lost the game, but they went, so they had a great season. JV had an awesome season. A lot of other sports I was able to watch because of the network, which is awesome. I wish that was something we could keep. That's one of those things that I would like to keep all the time for the people who can't make it for whatever reason.
And he says it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's good.
No, we can't keep that. That's such a great thing.
No,
though.
it's not going anywhere.
Oh, okay, good. Because I think that's important, because there's a lot of people that would like to come that can't. So I think that's an awesome thing, and it gives us an opportunity to, when we can't jump from one to the other, we can at least watch one and go right to the other. So it's been wonderful. Another shout out to, and I know they just got out, but thank you, teachers, staff, administration, everybody who had a hand in summer school. Our kids needed it bad. We need to do it again. I know we've got a lot of stuff we still need to get caught up on, but I just want to thank you guys so much. I'm glad we had the funds to pay you well. You deserve it. I hope you're getting a nice break, but I just want to say thank you guys for everything, and I know it was a lot of hard work, but it will be well worth it. So just want to say thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else? Go ahead, Gina.
I'll jump in to ties the summer academy. I visited the Falling Branch one, and it was so nice to see actually CPS, CES, Bellevue, Falling Branch all together, and all principals were there.
Yeah.
I had a opportunity to chat, and they really enjoy being together under the same roof, and working obviously and also collaborating at the same time. So yeah, it is wonderful. So I appreciate all that. I also visit the Camp Invention at CMS, and that week the kids had a grand time too. So that program has been going on quite some time, and it's very successful. And seeing a lot of our high school students coming and helping out with the younger kids, it was so nice. I attended bunch of conferences regarding school law, equity. Let's see what else there. One was indoor air quality and ventilation in America's K through 12 schools. That's pretty much it, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? I want to mention summer school for our early graduates. It was great to see the 10 students that attended that, not only just for those who are starting college a year early, but those who are going into the trades and already had a full-time position waiting on them, which is very impressive. So that's what we want to see. I'd like to welcome all the new principals and assistant principals that we have. I'm excited about the school year and what you bring to MCPS. And I think that's all I have. Anybody else? All right. There are currently no matters of unfinished business, and we did not carry over any new business matters to this.
I
current
do. I have
meeting.
something I'd like to bring
A
up.
board member report?
Oh, no, not a board member, a new business.
Okay.
Is it okay?
So it would be something we would do at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Go
Okay.
right ahead.
I would like to, I don't like that we did not have the ability to live stream the meeting. And I'd like to investigate or at least have someone, maybe whoever, look into the ability to live stream our meetings. I think people have gotten used to being able to listen in and be informed at that moment, and I would like to see us do that again. And it's unfortunate that today we didn't do that, and especially we were talking about some important stuff. And I think anyway, I would really like us to look into seeing how we can make that work here in this facility, as well as if one of us isn't here, instead of just being on an audio, to somehow be able to in this great age of technology, I think that maybe there's a way we can figure out a way to be able to do that.
So we talked about this at the retreat,
Mm-hmm.
and it became more apparent when we found out.
Well, that's
last
it.
minute
Yeah, at the retreat, we didn't know that we weren't going to have a boardroom anymore.
Right. And so we have asked that Tommy and company get together a budget for us to let us know what the cost of that would be. So once we get that, then we can make a decision as to whether we want to go that way or not.
Yeah, I think I'd
So-
like to expedite that if possible. I think it's important, and especially we got a lot of important things coming up over the next few meetings, a lot of important decisions, and I think that the public has the right to listen and view that as it's happening.
I mean, I think I'll jump in and agree with you on that, Sue. And I did talk to, Doug helped me set up the audio thing today. And I know there's some challenges with using Zoom, but we have done it before. So in other words, I'm not saying that we don't need to invest in other technology or look at other technology, but when we did use the Zoom technology back in, when we had our first meeting back after the pandemic started. And I know Doug says that there were some, echo and some issues and things, but the feedback that we got from the public was very positive. And so I agree with you on expediting, and I would ask even that we can discuss it at the next meeting, but I would ask that we at least try to set up some kind of a Zoom session for the next meeting, even if it's not perfect. It's better than nothing.
So could any of the CARES, GEARS, whatever monies be used since this is an existing facility, especially since we do a lot of professional development in here, which is tied to learning.
We're getting into a really gray area. I'd have to do. The estimated cost is going to be between $35,000 to $50,000 all in. I mean, it's doable, but you're going to be using capital dollars that,
I can't vote
you
for
know,
that. That's high.
Yeah. Okay, so we will have it on the next meeting's agenda, unless anyone objects to that, just for
Yeah.
discussion.
Now, Mark just asked for doing something at the next meeting. We need to know if that's a go or not, figuring something out.
We could spend $50,000, but we also have technology that we know works and we've used before. I don't understand why we can't use it.
Yeah, I mean, we've asked teachers to teach to students on an ongoing basis, and from doing all these Zoom meetings and Google Classroom and all this technology, and we can't even have. I'm not trying to. I know I'm sounding harsh, and I don't mean to, but it's like, why can't we at least have a board meeting in this room that's supposed to be a new room with and has great technology, and why can't we have a board meeting that can be live streamed? I guess I just don't. I'm trying to understand why we can ask teachers to do these classes live all the time, yet we can't even do this. So I think we owe it to the public to be able to do this.
but when we renovated the space, the renovation was more done to the space, not to technology, not to the roofs. I mean, there was a lot of work done, but this was not a complete renovation by any stretch of the imagination. And let me make that perfectly clear.
But
okay, a lot of good things was done, but there was a lot of stuff that didn't get done. And the technology was one of those. Yeah, we put screens, we put projectors up, but we really didn't do anything else behind the scenes. And I think, and that's a Doug question, but from what I understand, is it's that backbone behind is where the challenges are presenting itself.
But if we did do it, wouldn't we be able to use it for other things too? Wouldn't it be not just for board meetings, but I would think that it would have some great use for other types of programs, any kind of professional development or meetings that people might hold here. Or I see benefit besides just our once a week or once a month. Gosh, not once a week, once a month meetings.
I think that's what Ms. Franklin, I think.
Right.
So my question to the board is this: I'm sure we could put something together to have it live streamed by the next meeting, like Mr. Chewbacca is asking. Is that what the board would like us to do? We can figure something out, I'm sure. Is that correct there? Doug, come on up and share your wisdom with us.
It is. We could do that. We could do what we did that one. Now, we've actually done two different things. When we were here one time, we had a single point of video that we just put up front. So it was a single shot, wide angle, where we at least had that. Typically in the past, the first meetings have been the only ones that were streamed on video. The second one were work sessions that were in the our part of the school board office, where you just had audio only. So that's tonight would be sort of that same thing because it's later in the month and so we're recording audio. But we're at the will of the board, whatever you so choose. We can try to make it work the best we can.
So people can hear the audio though. It's not like correct?
No, nothing.
No, not tonight.
Okay.
This is just a simple recording and then we keep it for archival purposes. Brenda, we don't post this out, correct? But typically in the past, these meetings are just for archival in case somebody had a question about what was presented. Okay.
Gotcha.
For the work sessions.
Gotcha.
So if we use our meeting room back at central office, we could still do the recording even if we couldn't do the video. I mean the audio if we couldn't do the video.
Correct. There's really no difference between these two rooms at this point.
Right.
It's audio only. Both of them record. We don't stream the audio in either place. And we could set up some type of video in either place like we've done in the past.
So, Doug, we can do video and here at the next meeting.
Like we've done before.
Like we've done before.
Correct.
Okay, so we can do it.
Right. It won't be pretty.
It won't be great. We'll get some complaints about
I
sound.
get that. Yeah, it's not going to be all zooming in and all that kind of stuff. I get, yeah.
Just better than nothing. We just need to know, do y'all want us to pursue that for the next meeting?
Again, I would even encourage. I don't want to tell Doug how to do his job or what's going to work or not, but we have done this before. We have, in that first meeting in the pandemic, he set up laptops or Chromebooks in front of each of us that we didn't have to touch or mess with. Speakers were turned down. Those Chromebooks basically acted as a camera and a microphone for each person. And the feedback that we got after that meeting from the public was very positive. So I guess I don't understand why we can't do that again.
Mark, he's saying that we can't do that again.
He's saying we can.
We can do it.
Yeah, I know. I want to make sure. I want to make sure that we're not doing the one where it's a wide shot, and because I think that one got pretty bad reviews actually. So
I said there are two options that we've implemented in the past. We can implement either one that the board chooses.
So I'm hearing the board likes the what you just described, right, Mark?
The one where we all had. That's where you ran around, Doug, and you made sure we had it on. That was up in the other room, wasn't it? In the
It was
in the SBO conference
school
room.
conference.
Yeah. And that was where everybody had it on their computer.
So I'm hearing that's the way that we want to go because that seemed like that worked the best.
Is there an advantage to either one, Doug, or they?
The advantage to the single
Camera
option is that you have less chance for feedback. I was talking with Mark earlier about this, is that when you have those, each individual laptops, because you sit so close and the microphones are so sensitive on those, that what we had in the past was, one, a little bit of an echo, and two, if there's a strong dominant voice, other laptops right next to each other would bounce back and forth, so you'd lose the picture of the person talking as it flipped back and forth. And so, those minor little details, but overall it worked.
Okay. Thank you.
So do we just want to go around the room and say which one you would prefer? And we'll get a consensus with that?
I don't care, but I do agree that it's important for us to do this.
I don't care either one of them. I would rather do with what we have than invest into some high-performance system. That's my thinking. I think we should utilize what we've got at this point.
So hearing that there have been previous issues with the one-on-one, I'm good with the single camera with the good audio, because the way I feel about it, what's being said is more important than what's being seen. So as long as people are hearing what we're saying, that's what they're going to care about.
I agree with Dana.
Sue?
Hey, keep in mind too that at the next meeting, the August 3rd meeting, I'm also going to be remote. So as we do this, the technology also has to find a way to loop the person who's remote. And so I guess I would suggest that we let Doug play with this and figure it out. And I'll even make myself available if he needs help figuring stuff out or whatever.
Yeah, right now we're doing consensus with what everyone would feel they were the most comfortable with.
I think Mark's talking about a separate issue. So there's the live streaming to the audience, and then there's also the getting another person in remotely. It's talking about separate. And it sounds like, I don't know, Doug, I can't speak for you here, but the other option is better for looping somebody in remotely, where everybody's got their own computer going, or would it really, you still wouldn't be able to?
That's what I'm thinking right now. I'm trying to think through that, how we would get the.
Well, you
the
think about.
remote audio.
We're gonna let you figure this out.
But it does sound like we have a majority for doing the
If you have to do the live, the wide,
the video, the one video.
Why?
So if we find that it's not capable to bring in a remote person, would we then?
Then we do the other.
Then we
Do
do
the
the
other.
other.
Yeah.
We default to the other.
You decide, yeah.
Report back to.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily fine with if the individual cameras don't work well. As far as the audio piece, like Dana said, it's more important that we're heard than we're seen.
Right, and audio works better with the one single camera. than with the,
All right, so Doug's going to
Yeah.
look at both options and whichever works best.
If it's going to be an issue of whether someone who's doing remote, lessening the quality of the whole meeting, then I would not be in favor of trying to loop somebody in just for a video purpose.
okay, I
So
think
Doug,
you,
thanks for looking into it, investigating.
yeah.
We're gonna do the best we can. All right.
And if you could get back to me, I can let the board give an update to them. Thank you. Okay, any other new business for next meeting?
Thank you for
Sure,
discussing that.
sure. Announcements and information? I think I have 2 announcements. The Educational Foundation grant cycle is going to be coming up soon. So teachers be on the watch for information about that. And I had another announcement, but I can't remember what it was. So, all right. So, regarding our upcoming meetings, since we have kind of talked around this a little bit, it sounds like in order to put some things in place before school starts, which is August the 12th, that I would like to propose moving, not adding an additional meeting, but moving our August 17th meeting to August 10th. This will allow us to have 2 meetings prior to the first day of school on August 12th, and that would help everybody get all the information they need, including our families. Does anyone have any objections to making this change?
So I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. Got my calendar out and all.
Okay, so moving
August
from
3rd, we're having a meeting.
and August 10th,
And August 10th.
if the board is agreeable.
And then after August 10th, what would be the next meeting? Not
The
until
first meeting in September.
in September.
Which is 7, I think. September 7th.
Does anyone have any objections to that? Okay,
I
then we
do
can
not.
add that to our meeting agendas. Meeting list. All right. Our next order of business is closed session. Do I have a motion to go into closed session to discuss 2 personnel matters, 1 real estate matter, and 1 legal matter as authorized by Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now in closed session.